Thanks everyone for coming. I would just echo a lot of things that Bishop DeJong said about the joy of the synod. It's my first synod, so I have nothing to compare it to. But many who have gone to synod say it's just unprecedented in its manner and its style, and I can witness to how remarkable it is that we have the bishops and so on, and the Pope is there all the time, but the young people are very much involved. If there's any question about whether young people are protagonists at the synod, I would just put that to rest. From the first evening, when we heard them responding to interventions, and I'm sure you've heard about that, but the kind of whooping from the young people when they like an intervention, that's been a steady reality throughout. And I heard from some of the young people yesterday, the Pope, went up to where they're seated to visit with them. And one thing he said to them was, continue making noise. I like that. And so the young people are very much present, and their interventions, I must say, have been uniformly excellent. I'm very impressed by the young people who are here, how articulate they are, how bright they are. And then in the small groups, which I particularly enjoy, we have some wonderful young people, and they are listened to with tremendous attention, with deep respect. So they are protagonists, absolutely, at this synod. And I've enjoyed that very much. I love the opportunity to meet, bishops from all over the world too. It's been a great joy for me. So I know it's a bit of a cliche, I suppose, to say, but the Catholicity of the Church is on full display at an event like this. A couple of themes that have struck me. I appreciate Signore Ruffini's very thorough rehearsal of the themes. Here are a few that have struck me in the last, several days. That the sex abuse scandal, the clergy scandal, has been addressed honestly, directly from the very beginning of the synod. I think what people see is the clear link between that issue and the theme of the synod, which is, evangelizing the young, reaching out to the young. If the church has lost its credibility, how can it possibly speak to the young? So that's been discussed both in the general sessions and in the small groups, I think in a very frank way, that we want the church to be transparent, to be accountable at all levels, et cetera. So I've been, lifted up by the honesty and directness of that discussion. You heard this, but a theme that really has struck me, spiritual mentorship. So many of the young people are telling us, both indirectly in the text and then directly in the hall and in the small groups, what they want from the church is spiritual paternity, spiritual maternity, especially at a time when families are in crisis in much of the West. That this familial theme that the young people want, they want to be mentored and nurtured. One of the lines I heard that stayed in my mind was, we don't want bureaucrats, we want fathers. What struck me as dead right, that what the church ought to be providing is just that kind of spiritual parenting. Another line that has stayed in my mind is the church's mother, but the way a mother teaches an infant is very different from the way she teaches an adult child, though it's always a teaching relationship. I thought that was illuminating, but that theme has come up again and again. Spiritual paternity, I would say, is what the young people are asking for. Another one, of course, is dear to my own heart is the social media. And, it's everyone knows, and it's been said again and again, that both the dark and the light side of the social media, the ways it draws, people into themselves and away from community and into virtual reality, all those things. A line that has stayed with me too is the danger that was called virtual migration. And what was meant there was just as many immigrants feel alienated from their familial, cultural, and religious values as they come into a new country. So a lot of people, without changing physical place, can feel a kind of psychological and spiritual alienation from their own values through social media. That struck me as interesting. But then the light side of it, especially today when we're trying to reach out to the nones, so-called, the N-O-N-E-S, right? This people who claim no religion, and their number is increasing exponentially, certainly in the West. As high as 40% of those under 30 in my country, in the US, would now claim no religion. Well, how do we reach them? They're not going to come to our programs and to our institutions, but we have to find a way to reach out to them. And, I've been doing this for the past many years, and I think it's a great value for the church to embrace what I think is a kind of miracle of divine providence, that we have these means now to reach out to people who normally would not come to us. So that motif's come up a lot in the synod, is the social media, the good and the bad, but then this great evangelical opportunity. You heard about the global perspective, and I would reiterate the young man from Iraq who received the longest applause of anyone in the Synod, who talked about the persecution of Christians in his country. And what I appreciated about that was maybe getting us a bit out of our first world preoccupations to realize that there are people in this world who are dying because of their Christian faith, young people especially. So that was a bracing moment for me, and I thought a good thing for the Synod. Last thought. Jesus Christ, the name Jesus Christ coming up again and again. I mean, finally, what the church is about. These are all subsidiary themes. It's about Jesus Christ, announcing him. As we move toward the canonization of Paul VI, the church is a mission. Evangelii Nunciandi, the new evangelization. Pope Francis going to the margins, announcing Jesus Christ. I hear his name again and again. And that lifts me up. I mean, that's the evangelical purpose of the whole church, and especially of our Synod.